Hello guys and welcome back to Equi Edge Research, where we share cutting edge insights on the Indian automotive sector as well as the Indian markets, your investments and stock market psychologies. Today we have developed or we have gathered here for a very important discussion on the first chapter of our automotive sector series, that is the introduction and how the current automotive sector has been working in the Indian markets. So what happens is we are going to take up the data sets from the year 2019 to 2024 and the current movements in the year 2025. So before me starting about the automotive sector and its cyclical nature, what I want to take your attention to is from the sum of critical factors that really drive growth in the Indian markets. So if we talk about those critical factors, there are two or three major factors, especially in the automotive area. The first one is the festive season. The second one is the rainfall. And the third one is the result to rainfall, that is urban and rural developments and developments in the per capita income of urban as well as rural population in India. So now we are going to talk upon two major factors. The first two factors that are the festive seasons and the rainy season or the rainfall. So when we talk about the Indian festive season, it is not only the tradition in the Indian context, but also work as the growth driver for the retail markets or the retail players in the Indian markets. Especially in the automotive sector, if we talk about more precisely passenger vehicle segment, what we get to know is the peak of sales. They generally tend to happen in the year end quarter as well as just a quarter before the year end, that is the festive quarter. So when we talk about the festive quarter, it typically starts from August and it ends in maybe sometimes it moves further to first or second week of November, but it ends in the till the first or second week of November. So what happens is this festive season and year end are typically the quarters where the automobile industry posts highest sales in the overall fiscal year. So what happens is this quarter is really very much beneficial for the OEMs, that are original equipment manufacturers such as Maruti Suzuki or what we say as Mahindra and Mahindra that creates passenger vehicles, the retailers or the dealers, and the third one and the most important is the consumer or also known as customers. So what happens is at the year end or what we can say in the festive season, we have lot of demand grow. So what happens is the company starts to push their sales from the second quarter. So what happens is as soon as they try to push the sales, what happens is when the sales they occur in these particular second quarter, uh, the companies generally do to manage the demand that is going to come further in the festive season. So what happens is companies always starts to build up their inventories maybe to 2x for the upcoming demand in the season. The second and the most important thing is during this tenure, the discounts are really high as well as the new launches for the vehicles are typically done in these quarters, which is also a major growth driver for the retail segment. Also, when we talk about more importantly, the inventories, they tend to ramp up. The second and most important thing is the dispatches, higher dispatches in quarter four, that is January to March. So, what happens is at the end of the fiscal year, especially uh, in the month of March, where the vehicle dispatches moves or increases as the manufacturers and dealers they push to meet annual targets. Each and every company, maybe it's a OEM, maybe it's a dealer or a retailer which is selling the cars to customers, they have a particular targets of sales. So in order to push those targets, the customers are gifted with heavy discounts, and so the demands also they rise as well as sales happen the most, and hence the dispatches in the quarter 4 is higher, because at the end, when we talk about the 31st March, at the end of the year, fiscal year, the inventories, the company wants its inventories to be lean so that they can start up with the new inventory for the next fiscal year. The last thing is the lower dispatches in quarter 1, that is typically from April to June. So what happens is after the year end push, the next quarter, as we talk, the automobile industry is cyclical. यार बहुत सारे लोगों ने फेस्टिव सीजन्स में गाड़ियां खरीद ली, अब हर साल थोड़ी हर बार थोड़ी खरीदेंगे, हर क्वार्टर में थोड़ी खरीदेंगे. So the demand that was typically very high in the festive as well as end quarter has been started to be in a subdued growth. मतलब जो ग्रोथ है वो टिपिकली अब गिर चुका है, उतना ज्यादा नहीं है जितना क्वार्टर 3 और क्वार्टर 4 में हुआ करता था. So the companies they dispatch less units to the dealers as well as retailers for the sales in the market. And also we have some seasonal factors like rainfall. So people generally try to avoid or try to wait for the festive seasons during this quarter so that they can be gifted with good discounts and high customer benefits, etc. So when we did this discussion, if we try to get a conclusion out of it, we have to understand that the Indian automobile industry is really cyclical. And there are two, three very much major factors as we discussed of. That is, the first one is the festive season, second one is the rainfall, and the third one is result to that. So also what happens is after the rainfall, right? After the rainfall, it depends on the rainfall how good the rainfall has been done, how good the rabi crops has been sown and harvested off. Because after the sales of those harvestments, the money that could be generated out of those sales, this production or the production price goes to the farmers or the rural areas. And once there is money in the pockets of rural areas, the first layer of consumption starts in the market, and that's how that is the first domino that has been hit by the rainfall. In the videos that I created or made in the past, we have to be really important in order to understand about how the things are working currently. We need to move to the past and see how the first domino was hit. So this is how the first domino was hit. Thank you.